guys, welcome back.
Welcome
We can't
back.
wait
Welcome back.
for today's episode. Today's episode is all about psychic medium healer businesses and really having the energy to thrive in them, really impact your clients, and then also feel energized in your human life. And that's the big problem that we faced with working with clients is there's moments where people love what they're doing and then they get drained, or they're not getting enough clients, or they're having so many clients where they're just overwhelmed and they don't have a life outside of their
Yeah,
clients.
so let's capture that too, the being drained part versus tired. That's a huge distinction there. If your workload is draining you
Right.
and you're hitting these points where you're getting burnt out and you're drained, that's how we look at it, then you obviously need to tweak something in your business or your lifestyle. Now, being tired,
Right.
like after you give coaching sessions or healing sessions or readings, that's natural. That's just like an athlete out on the court. They're tired, right? But being drained is different.
Totally. And it's true. It's a lot of the stuff that I found even with my own mediumship stuff at the very beginning, intuitive readings, mediumship readings. There was a point at the very beginning where I was packing in readings in too short of a time frame because I was leaving my third grade teaching position thinking I got to take anyone that comes to me and I need to work with their schedule. And that got me to the place of being drained. And it was a short amount of time that I figured out I have to change something because I can't do this. I didn't leave teaching to feel like this at
Yeah.
the end.
So if you're looking for a way to operate your business that and your life to where you're energized, this is the podcast episode for them.
Definitely.
So let's take them back to before we started our business that we're in now. So this was over a decade ago, and we were both teachers, right? We're teachers in the public schools, and we wanted more. We wanted more because we had family in Tampa, in St. Louis, and Boston. And then we lived in Tampa like half the year at that point. Maybe more than half the year, a little more than half the year. But we wanted to be able to travel around the world and impact lives. That was a phrase we used over and over. And what that meant to us was be in Boston, be in St. Louis with our family while we're working with our clients, either online or in person, and being able to have this freedom to do this. We desired that drastically because at the time we had young nephews and nieces in St. Louis. I don't believe we had any in Boston at the time,
Not
but a couple
yet.
years later that came and that sparked the desire even more. But we had family that we wanted to be around and we value that. So eventually we hit a wall with that, right? To where we realized that our teaching jobs that we had, it was putting a constraint on our growth as
Right.
people. It was constraining what we could actually teach. So we had a desire inside of us. We wanted to teach other subjects. We didn't want to just teach what the government and the public school systems were telling us to do. And we had a constraint on our time, right? Even though we had a great lifestyle as a
Right.
teacher, it's still, when the school season was there, if we wanted to see our family, it had to be on the weekends or when we were off. So we started to, at least I started to feel like I was a plant in a too small of a pot.
Yeah.
And I loved teaching. It's not saying anything about that. You love teaching too. It's just, it was time to grow.
When you get that feeling, you just know.
So then we had the plan, right? And what was our plan?
Yeah, the plan was the big thing. We knew that, okay, so you were at that point, you were going to college and you were going to be graduating and become the teacher. And I knew in my head that I was going to leave teaching. So I remember there was a point where I knew I had 2 years left. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do 1 year at this school and then I'm going to do another year at another school. And I had a feeling that something was going to change at the school that I was at, where they were going to become even more stricter and extend the day, which they ended up extending the day. So it was a longer day for teaching. And with that, I left teaching and you were starting teaching. And I think that we said that you were going to stay there for a couple of years. And then we were going to go off, both of us, full time with our mission. I think we said 2 years for you, right?
Yeah, we might have said 2, or maybe even said 1 or 2 years, maybe 3 years.
Right.
It ended up being 3 years.
So logically, it wouldn't even, make sense that you would go spend this time, energy, and money to go and pay for college to be a teacher. But intuitively, we knew that was the stepping stone for bigger things that were going to come.
Yeah, so I read something the other day in a book, and it was powerful. And I talked about when we make rational decisions, we're making decisions that are aligning in our zone of genius, we'll call it, or in our natural nature. So when we make irrational decisions, for example, at that time, somebody's like, okay, here's an example of an irrational decision. I'm going to take this job because I'm making all of this money,
Right?
Because I'm making a lot of money. A rational decision is like, I'm taking this job because it aligns with my skill set that I want to develop. It aligns with my passions. It aligns with what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life. That's how I felt at that point. So that's how I was looking at it. I was looking at, I was investing all this money and time and energy into school. And then only to teach, I ended up teaching 3 years in the public schools. Only 3 years after investing all that money and time and energy, it doesn't make sense logically. Intuitively, it does. And now looking back, it makes perfect sense because all of the skill sets that I developed as a teacher, I get to use them every single day. So this is a message to anybody.
And just to add this in, I know you don't bring it up, but I'm going to bring it up. Definitely, being your wife, is you left on a high note, and I feel like I left on a high note too, where you left on, being teacher of the year. I think that year, right? Was it that year that you left?
Yes.
But you knew that was going to happen. And I think that's important to think about for people listening, that sometimes things are going amazing in your current job, or maybe it's even your current relationship. You think it's going amazing, like on paper, everything's good, but there's an intuitive nudge and a feeling that, no, there needs to be a change, and you have to trust that.
Yeah, and everybody was shocked. A lot of the people at the schools were shocked.
Right.
Some friends and family were shocked because of that, because it was on a high note. And it's like you're saying, it's like you don't have to wait for things to dip before you leave. It's like, follow that intuitive nudge. And that's what the intuitive nudge told me. And this has everything to do with the 4 keys that create a successful business that energizes you. And we're getting to that point. So we followed this intuitive nudge. And this is the common theme throughout our entire story over this last decade, is following our intuitive nudges. That's one of the keys, just to give you a little hint. And then after we made our decision, we're like, all right, we're going all in. Lindsay's going full-time into her business. I'm after 3 years teaching, I'm going full-time into our education business. And then once you make the decision, now all hell breaks loose sometimes. You have to slay your dragons. Lots of positivity happens, but it's a huge learning curve. And especially when you're running a business as an entrepreneur, and then also you're learning how to show up as a healer, a coach, a medium, and what services you're going to offer, how you're going to get to your ideal client. All of these different things started to become problems for us that we had to solve. We had to figure out the technology. Like, how are we going to have these systems? We're teachers. We wanted to create courses. We wanted to create education. We believe in education. How are we going to do this? What website are we going to put these on? How are we going to distribute them to people? All of these things internally, I was struggling with, you were struggling with, we all do. Am I enough? Can I do this? Even though every single day we knew the deepest part of ourselves kept saying, no, you are enough. You got this. But then the human side of us would show up, especially as we start to take more and more action. You're being squeezed. What's inside of you comes out. And that's what we had to deal with too. That was many of the conflicts, was our internal conflicts, along with these external conflicts that we had.
Definitely. And I think about like the phrase, am I enough? Because that's a huge one that comes up with our clients. Sometimes I didn't even comprehend that am I enough goes with what I was feeling. And I think that's what happens with people. They're like, I know I'm enough. I know I can do this. I can see the vision of the future. But then there's habits and there's internal talk that goes against that. There's some conflicting beliefs around, I know that I'm enough, and I'm still having some doubts that come up. So I think that people get confused when they hear that phrase sometimes. I know I'm enough. Like, you know, deep down that you're
Yeah.
enough, but is the internal conversations matching up to really believing that you're enough?
And when you're working with high achievers, they like to disguise words. Instead of saying fear,
Right.
I'm fearful of that, they'll make up something else that says the exact
It's
same
an excuse.
thing.
Like, I don't have the money or the technology.
Yeah, it's
or
like, I can't do that. I can't, the money, the technology, my husband, my wife, the weather. And with high achievers,
time.
they're so
kids.
used to achieving and getting good grades and winning and doing all these things that it is a struggle to look at that part of yourself. And I'll admit it too. I'm raising my hand and admit I was scared. I can remember going back to 2015. You were telling me, Tony, let's put out content. Let's put out videos. I'm like, no, I'm not ready. I still got to do preparation and do all this stuff. Looking
I was
back,
so
I was
frustrated,
scared.
but at the same
I
time,
was scared and I couldn't admit it then. I didn't know how to admit it. Vulnerability is one of those things that the more that you practice it, the easier it gets.
Mm-hmm.
Is it ever just easy? I don't think so. But it gets easier. It gets way easier. And at that point, I wasn't used to looking at that other side of myself. I was more on the other side of positivity. No, the law of attraction. And we can't look at that negative side because then we'll attract it. And it's like this coffee mug doing that same thing and never acknowledging that it's made out of glass. Never acknowledging that it has coffee in it. And it's acting like it's not there because it's thinking that if it acknowledges that, it's a bad thing. I started to realize that's false.
Mm-hmm.
And these are one of the most powerful keys to unlocking a business that energizes you. Is what we found the pattern is when people start to really lean into this edge and look at that, we'll call it the dark side of themselves, their whole life starts to transform.
Right.
They're no longer defensive about it. They're owning it. They're realizing this is part of the game and it's okay. If I look at myself and I look at my inner workings, I'm a human, and I see that when I go and take action, there's something inside of me that's saying, hey, little bitch, you're not enough. You're not enough. You're not enough. Right? I could call that little bitch out, and then that little bitch leaves eventually. Or it gets
it's true.
It gets more quiet. I don't know if it ever leaves.
And that's why I feel like it's important to either have a partner, definitely a coach. I mean, that's one of the keys, right?
Yeah, we live with one another. Yeah, we're calling each other shit all the time.
That you have to call each other out. Sometimes you're not going to be business partners with your person, and
most
that's
of the
okay.
time you're not. We
Most
get,
of the time.
trust me, we get why it can't work, but it took us. That was another part of our
That was
journey
a practice
that we had to learn how to really work with each other.
So you really want, like, if you are someone that wants to grow, you have to be around friends that will push you to grow too, you know? But what I will say is we recognize that not all your friends are going to understand what you're going through as an entrepreneur and someone that has a powerful mission. Not saying that they don't, but everyone's mission's different. You know, someone that's a barber needs to be surrounded with barbers too, so they could talk and say, like, this is what's happening with clients. How can I grow from here? I go to the hair seminars. And someone that's a coach or a psychic medium and healer goes and hangs out with other people, not all the time, but so that you know that you're not alone. Now, the big thing that we recognize, and this might be out of order of you know, the sharing, but the mentor is the most important, one of the most important things when it comes to your journey. If you don't have a mentor, it will take you a lot longer to get farther in your journey.
I don't know where we would be without all of our business mentors, spiritual mentors over this last decade.
Oh, it wouldn't be the same. It would take a lot longer.
Like, before we do run a lot of masterminds, retreats, online, in person. Before, we would like make it so complex of how we're setting up for them, how we're selling them. But then we got a mentor on masterminds who's an expert at running masterminds. Now all of a sudden it became way easier for us. Like, our frameworks on creating lesson plans became easier. We're teachers.
I know.
We're like professional lesson planners. But our expert mentor taught us a simple framework on how to make our retreats, our masterminds so powerful. His 30 years experience, we got just like that. And because we paid for speed, we paid for belief, we paid for clarity. And that's only one example. Right. We have so many examples of those with technology, with our mindset, how we have to go and approach these masterminds and these retreats. So everything internally or externally, we learn that from our mentors. And then, of course, we add our own little mix to it, right? That's the creativity part. That's the intuition. Part. It's like you're not looking at this mentor and you're like, all right, I'm going to copy everything they do.
That's the worst thing to do.
Including the names of their programs.
Yeah.
It's like, don't do that.
Don't do that.
And you don't need to copy everything they do. You can use their tools, like the tools that we share in our masterminds, the thinking tools, the clarity tools, all of these. Use those for your clients, but over time make them your own. And I think that's a huge piece too. That's a huge piece too.
Oh, it's such a huge topic. I mean, we've had this conversation before. It's like taking time to be creative and be independent and not duplicate, because there's so much happening online where people are just duplicating what other people are doing. There's no intuition. There's no creativity.
There's no energy to it because people can feel that.
Oh, they could definitely feel it. So, I mean, and that I actually just had Lisa Fraley on my Mediumship Mastery Circle, and we had a conversation about this and about she's a legal coach and the importance of having your own thing and really like having up your energetic boundaries, but also the confusion with brand identity. When you start noticing people duplicating things, you get confused. Wait, whose brand is that? You see the same names pop up and all of a sudden you're confused at what program is this? Who's leading this? Because I thought it was someone else's. It's not a good thing. So that goes with the keys. It's not a key, but it goes with the keys, because if you have a strong mentor and you're observing and you're building the belief in your body, in your mind, you're going to know, I can do this. I can do it in my own way. And you have that energetic support and you can think on your own too.
Yes. Because without that mentor, we were in fight or flight mode.
Yeah.
And when you're in fight or flight mode, like I was with the gas grill a couple weeks ago, we just got a gas grill about, a month ago now?
Yeah. I think it's already been a month. I can't believe it.
And I probably have like 15 hours into reading articles and videos because I was scared out of my mind of gas grills for some reason my entire life.
I know. I feel like I
the reason is I haven't had much practice with it. 1, 2, it looks intimidating. So I was scared. So I had to do this. I had to seek out online mentors. I had to seek out mentors at Home Depot, my friend Bob. I had to surround myself around people that knew what they were talking about with gas grills. So then I could get out of fight or flight mode. When I was in fight or flight mode, I was about ready to return the gas grill. Remember?
Yes.
I was like, all right, I'm about ready.
After you already put it together,
for hours. For 3.5, 4 hours. I'm like, and then there was another like sound coming from it. I'm like, oh shit, I can't look up any more articles. I'm like, let's return this. And then all of a sudden I had a breakthrough. So it's like right before you're about ready to throw in the towel, even in our business, when you feel that inside, a breakthrough's coming. So you just have to stick with it.
Right.
You have to keep reaching out to your mentors so you can go farther, faster. You don't want to go farther, slower. If we didn't get a mentor who showed us the right map, which is another key, like you need a map if we're going to St. Louis. We have a GPS, right? Without that, we would need a map. We would need something to tell us, hey, do this, go there, make a left, make a right, get on this highway, right? And you need the right tools. So our mentor provided that for us. It gave us the map, gave us the tools. When I was doing the gas grill in our business, our education business, when we did our Airbnb business, did the same thing. Found the mentors, found the maps, found the tools. What are the tools in this education business, this mediumship business? It's the thinking tools, right? It's the tools that you can use for your clients. It's the leadership tools. It's the technology.
There's so many pieces.
The scheduling systems, the distributing systems. There's so many different tools that you need. It's like if you're building a house and you have the wrong tools, it's going to take you a long time.
And then to
build that house.
Search for the tools.
And then you're searching on YouTube. You're listening. And
That's
you're like,
what I did.
You're
for
like, does this
years.
asshole even know what he's talking about? So it's like as you're listening to YouTube, you got to even know who this person is. You got to. So it's like finding that mentor that you trust.
And that's doing the work. That's a trick.
That's living
because it could look
how you
good.
want to live.
It could look good on the outside. Like everything can look pretty and Instagrammable, but are they actually doing the inner work? And I think that's important to pay attention to is when you're signing up for things, like whether it's buying a course or signing up for a mentor. Sometimes I remember hiring someone. I won't say what I hired them for, okay? Because I don't want to.
Please tell us.
No,
I want to know now.
no, it's something with business. It's something with business. But I hired.
Say their name.
No, I hired this 2 people to help me with something because I posted. I said I'm looking for help with this in the business. It was a technology thing, and someone recommended them, and I chose them, and I work with them, and I was like, they don't feel like they know what they're talking about. And I just didn't get the value that I needed. And I recognized after I didn't do enough research. I took someone's viewpoint that posted in the Facebook group to say, this is the perfect thing. I realized that was like part of their company. Like it wasn't anyone outside of their company recommending it. So you have to really be aware of what you're doing. You don't want to just be like putting out tons of money and not knowing who you're working with.
Yeah, you need to really trust like business instincts, your intuition. Right.
And I was in a
powerful
space too where I needed something that moment. So I wanted that thing right then. I wasn't being patient with it.
Yeah, and when you're looking for a mentor too, in my opinion, I don't just want somebody that's like really successful at business or whatever you're looking for a mentor with. I want somebody that like I like other qualities about them. Like I like how they live their lifestyle.
It's a mix of everything.
I like how like they value their health. They're a great dad. They're a great husband. So it's like when you're finding mentors too, that's really important, especially with this work because it's so sacred. You want to be with somebody that believes how you believe, that has similar values as you have. And that might
be different. Like I know some people we've worked with and they're mindful of their physical body and their mindset. And other people are like, I don't want this part of the program. I don't want this part. I just want to get right to the tools, the mediumship.
Well, I want my fast food. I want a microwave.
And then we say, okay, then we're not the right mentors for you.
Because if you're wanting to microwave shit and you're wanting to get things quickly and you think it's a success overnight story, it's like that's not how we work. We work to where it's like we're working with the core. We're working with the core of who they are. The 80%, we believe that it's 80% mindset, your energy, how your inner workings are, and then 20% skill. When it comes to a successful business that energizes you. And if you're not willing to look at that 80% yourself, your inner workings, and you only want to come and be like, all right, just tell me the system, tell me exactly what to do. We know that you're not a good fit. And we know most likely you're not going to be on an exponential growth curve. Because people that are on exponential growth curves, meaning they're priming themselves to have a huge shift in their business, they don't think like that.
Right.
In our opinion. I mean, not in our opinion.
And
not
everyone
in our opinion. From our experience,
has different things.
From our experience, the patterns that we've seen, the clients that end up having a successful business that energizes their life or are the ones that really dive deep into the mindset, their inner workings, and they master the skills.
And I think success is a big thing that we can kind of touch on quickly before we go into the other keys. What is success to you? That's the question. What does success feel like to you? Is success money in your bank account only? Is success having people praise you and get recognition and awards? Is success living a free life where you can travel and do all those things? Success is really about fulfillment. If you're not feeling fulfilled, but you're getting success on paper, to me, that's not success.
So, for example, success to somebody out there is they have a house full of cats.
Yes.
And they give ratings online to people all around the world. And they're like,
that's
I love my cats, and this is what it is. And if that person does not have a house full of cats and giving ratings to people all over the world online in their comfortable home that they love, they're not going to be fulfilled.
Yeah.
They could go and do all the shit that me and you are doing, and they could travel, they could do all the things that we like, and they're going to be like, wait a second. This was fun for a moment, but I need to get back to my cats.
Exactly. It's getting clear on what it is. Like, what is your vision? And I think that's the big thing. A lot of people don't take the time to get clear on the vision.
Yeah. So what are the 4 keys to have a successful, we'll call it spiritual business that energizes you, not just a successful business, one that energizes you. It's finding the right mentor. Like we said, if we didn't find the right mentors, we would be going in circles still. We're not going in circles. The right mentor will have the right map. So that way you can actually get to your destination, whatever that is, going back to your vision. Your destination is your vision.
Right.
If it's a house full of cats, the map will take you there. Tools. You need the right tools. You need technology tools. You need some thinking tools. You need some leadership tools. And then the 4th key is using that intuition, developing that muscle, developing those business instincts, because that's going to be number 1, I believe. I think they're all number 1. But if you do, say you do all of these, and you follow this system, you get the mentor, the map, the tools, but then you don't use your own intuition, make it your own, you become a robot. And we don't want robots.
And you'll just go in a spin. Like, you'll just keep on spinning.
We want creativity. Your clients want creativity. When I work with somebody or if I hire somebody, I want it to be like an authentic version of their business. If I go to a cheeseburger spot, I want it, like a mom and pop, I want that person to be like, look, I make it my own way. I'm from Oklahoma. We do the onion burger. We do it this way. I don't want someone that's just a copy of McDonald's or that's a copy.
Yeah.
It gets boring. Like, that shit's already done. Don't take Tanya. She's already doing it. Be you.
No, that is true. Yeah, you definitely.
It's more fun too. And look, we get it. It's very challenging to, like, it's very vulnerable, I will say, being you and putting yourself out there. So we like to play around with it, but we understand that it is challenging too.
Yeah. But it's just even more reason to show up and get clear on yourself. So then when you are working with clients, it's really from a space of who you are. So I want to tell them about our upcoming webinar.
Yes.
We have some awesome things coming up. Let me just kind of recap on what's happening. So one of the things that we have coming up is a webinar. It's coming up on
July 25th.
July 25th
Thursday.
at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're excited about that. It's a business webinar for psychic mediums and healers. And then we have 2 more in-person business workshops coming up. And that's in Massachusetts and it is in the St. Louis area. So if you want more information, reach out. You can go to lindsaymarino.com or send us a message underneath here and we'll give you that link. We can't wait to hear your insights from this episode. Share with us below.